Shouldn't be in the camera. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
It's live.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready? All right. Welcome to Live Talk. I am your host, Arthur Jeremiah, alongside my two co-hosts, the Minister Samuel.
Welcome back again to Live Talk.
And joining us virtually, and my brother, the ambassador, spiritual ambassador, Yike Ezekiel. All right, give me some sound right there on your top. Yeah, let's push that button. Yeah. All right.
You can hear me?
Yes, sir. All right. So before anything, let's go to our general statement and disclaimer. General statement. Live Talk is proudly powered by TBS Goodwill, Builders of the Highway Foundation, and Men of Purpose. Together, we're bringing about awareness to the everyday challenges facing individuals, communities, and our nation. We tell our stories, listen to yours, and always respect different perspectives. Want to share your voice? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com to be a guest, or if you would like to contribute to our mission, purpose, go to livetalkorl.com to give a donation. Disclaimer. Information provided during this event and others to come does not constitute the official opinion of Live Talk or its affiliate entities. It is strongly recommended that viewers seek independent expert advice regarding any topics discussed, as legal requirements differ significantly across jurisdictions and are subject to frequent changes. If you have questions or concerns, you can always email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Facebook and or Instagram at Live Talk Orlando. All right. Welcome back. My brothers, how are you doing? Minister, you're away from us virtually. How you doing, brother?
For Saturday, it's sunny, it's hot, but it's good. In spite of everything, we're going to make it a great day.
Yes, sir, indeed. And my brother that made it in the studio today, Yike Ezekiel, how you doing, sir?
Marvelous. All is well in the world, in the land.
All right. As for myself, I think I mentioned it probably in another show before, just going through that tax season fever again. So, getting everybody ready for tax time. Just going to give a little promo. If you haven't filed if you're a calendar year filer, that means you file your taxes in the beginning of the year, either around, if you got a business like a partnership or S Corp, that means you supposed to file your return around March the 15th. But if you filed an extension, your deadline to file is going to be September the 15th. I want to make sure that people are aware of that, because we're sending out newsletters and emails and social media posts about this here. And then if you did file an extension early in the year, when your return was due by a personal, this is, or a C Corp, if your return was due by April the 15th, then you still have to file. If you file an extension, you have to file by October the 15th. So just want to put that out there. That's what we're doing. That's what I'm caught up in for the last two 3 weeks, and we're trying to get everybody done with that. So I just want to put that out there. So that's how my week has been, and having a pretty good day though. All right, so family, just for my listening and viewing audience, just want to give you a rundown of the show today. First, we'll have the minister word of today. Right after that, we'll go to a short commercial break. And our main topic today is Beyond the Month, building long-term power through Black-owned businesses. And we'll be joined by a special guest today. She has joined the show before, Miss Finance Pro, so can't wait for that. And then right after that, we'll go to a commercial break. And then we'll have some community news. We're going to be talking about back to school, what parents can do, what the youth should have in mind. And then we'll conclude or we'll close out with either reading a quote from the host. So with no further ado, Minister, what is the word of today?
All right, let me see. Today, August the 16th, our word of the day is going to be entrepreneur. And an entrepreneur is one who organizes, manages, and assumes the risk of a business or enterprise. An entrepreneur is someone who starts their own business, especially when this involves seeing a new opportunity. An entrepreneur is a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses, taking on greater than normal financial risks to do so. Entrepreneurs play a crucial role in the economy by driving growth, creating jobs, and often disrupting established industries. Some synonyms for entrepreneur are organizer, coordinator, businessman or woman, trader, and producer. And we got a quote from Wilfred Emmanuel Jones, who's also known as the Black Farmer, is never chase money, you should chase success, because with success, money follows.
All right. Well, thank you for that word of today, Minister. We will be getting into that today. We'll go to a quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
What do all these people have in common besides a beautiful smile, healthy teeth, and gums? They all use Zadi toothpaste. Zadi toothpaste is made with all natural ingredients. Zadi toothpaste is fortified with moringa and baking soda. Zadi toothpaste is suds-free, making it an excellent choice for kids. All natural, fortified, and suds-free. Get yours today at noystore.com.
All right. Welcome back to Live Talk. Again, I am your host, Arthur Jeremiah. And this is part 2 of an episode that we did in our last show. This one is part 2 of National Black Business Month. It's a series of that. In part 1, we talked about the purpose behind the month and the challenges Black entrepreneurs face. And today, we'll go deeper. We'll be talking about a little bit about legacy, building ecosystems, not just businesses, but building a system around that. And we'll be asking, how do we create long-term power and economic justice in our communities? Now, we don't have an attorney on today to get into justice like that, but I am counting on my viewing audience, our listening audience, to chime in, send in some comments, and hopefully later in future shows, we're going to have a link that one can join the show if they want, if they have some expertise in some of these areas. They want to join the show just to add some, some advice to the show. But today we don't have that, so they're sending your comments in. However, we do have a special guest joining us today, Miss Finance Pro. Miss Finance Pro has been in the financial industry for 15 plus years. She started and now co-owns two businesses, Scott and Associates Account Firm and Scott Capital Finance. Both are well-respected businesses in the community and does a lot of charitable work that I'm pretty sure she'll be talking about today. We are so grateful to have her join the show today and give her input on the topic. So, with no further ado, welcome to the show, Miss Finance Pro.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Always a pleasure to join you.
Well, how are
Welcome
you?
back.
How are you,
Wonderful,
sister?
wonderful, busy. And when we're busy, we feel blessed because we know entrepreneurship is anything but easy. And I guess I'll try to look at that, Mike. It's always difficult. Naturally, when you're on a computer, you kind of want to look at the crowd and it's like, okay, my eyes are down now. So let me figure out where I need to look.
So, how you been since the last time you came on to the show? I
Been
like
well.
to continue.
I've been well. I love the intro, especially when it comes to, giving back, because we always have to remember, especially with the subject matter that we're having, which is Black, entrepreneurship and what that journey looks like for people of color, because we know it's anything but easy. And so for myself, because it's just by the grace of God, Yahweh himself, that we can still stand. I saw the bio said 15 plus years. Well, now we are 18 plus years in. So much that is given, much is required. So we've done nothing but give back to the community. It's a part of our brand, and we love that giving back is a part of our brand. And we're now starting to get more recognition, not just for what we do, but how we give. And so how phenomenal is that, that we can bless others, including our next generation. So it's just been busy, but busy in all facets, busy in working with the community, busy in pouring back into the community. So who knows where Miss Finance Pro will be next? Or I do know I'm going to be at the GOO Girls of Orlando in September, giving a financial workshop to our next, ladies or ladies of the future.
Awesome. We call a lot of that blessed stress. I told someone that before, and they kind of just looked at me and kind of laughed. I said, that's blessed stress.
Very blessed stress.
Well, just in case you didn't know, this is National Black Business Month, and it was initiated in '04 by two African American gentlemen. One was an engineer. His name was Frederick Jordan, and the other was a historian. His name was John Templeton. And it was new to us. That's why we want to talk about it. And it was also appeared to be new to a lot of our listening and viewing audience as well. They appreciated us sharing the information. Have you heard of this before?
If the question is towards me, I can be honest and say I've never knew about this. So this is a first for me, but happy that we have something outside of Black History Month that we're pouring back into and being very intentional, because we need the reminders to continue to put and support our Black-owned businesses. We still are very behind, and we have some catching up to do when it comes to our generational wealth. So I thank you all for continuing to put this information out there and educating us.
Indeed. So we'll be going, we'll be continuing on with the the series from our last show. And today we're going to be talking about visibility and viability. So every August, we see Black businesses promote online. Directories are shared and spotlights are made. But what happens in September is the question. We'll talk about why visibility is a starting point, not the destination, and what we need to do as a community to turn support into sustainability. So short bursts, of attention can't replace long-term support. So the first question I want to throw out there, and since you are our guest, you have the first rights to the questions. How can Black-owned businesses move from short-term visibility in August to long-term growth and sustainability?
I would say for entrepreneurships, you have to have some type of system and marketing plan in place. And for many, it might seem easier said than done. But if you make it a part of your system and your day-to-day operations, it's going to be easier to commit to. And then for yourself and for your business, not everyone's action plan will be the same. Similar, but maybe not the same. And then you have to understand where's your audience and what's the best way to reach your audience. For some, that's going to be social media via Facebook. But for others, Facebook is not your marketplace. Maybe your marketplace is going to be LinkedIn, or maybe your marketplace is going to be YouTube via Shorts, or TikTok. There's a lot of different online platforms, but you have to understand who your audience is and where your audience is for social media marketing. Also, you want to have a plan for visibility depending on, where you are in the process. If you are a more newer business, if you're not as seasoned, people really don't know you yet, you have to be committed to really putting in the work, because that's going to require a lot more marketing. It's going to require you to spend some money on marketing. And then my favorite on how we grew, it's also going to require some guerrilla marketing. Guerrilla marketing doesn't get the credit it once did. That means you are out making yourself visible within the community you're looking to serve.
Okay. I know I threw that question at you, Minister. I'm gonna turn back your way to see if you had anything to add to this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's great input, and I would even switch it to the other side, like as consumers, whereas we know as people of color, we are some of the largest consumers in the country, but where we fall short is we spend all of our wealth with others other than ourselves. And it's like, yeah, we'll know about Black History Month, but now this is Black Business Month. We need to become very conscious and strategic about our spending habits, like how we purchase, how we plan our purchasing and our spending. And we should make a conscious effort of spending those dollars and resources for Black-owned businesses, because that's what translates into other business. You kind of want to bring it to the least common denominator if you can, with like things like gas, groceries, clothing, and services, and being really conscious of, instead of just making a purchase, can I be making this on a Black purchase? Like some Black businesses, they may be in large chains like Walmart, Target, but you can actually go directly to their site and purchase directly from them in a local community. When you have Black businesses, you want to make a conscious effort. And when I say conscious, it's about when you get ready to pull out that card or you get ready to pull out that cash, how can I direct this strategically toward benefiting another Black business? And not just do it only in like Black History Month or Black Business Month. This should be something that we do on a routine basis, like every month. Like if we make a budget, part of our budget should be Black-owned businesses. I know I like to look at what's my creditors or debt, and I try to have as little as possible. But then you need to look at that list. And if none of them are Black, you really need to be rethinking your personal as well as your business income and debt. How do I redirect that so that I'm putting my resources back into Black businesses and into my community?
I love, and I'm sorry to steal
Go
the
ahead.
conversation. It was two things. I love having a monthly budget or an idea of a monthly budget that's already dedicated to spending with Black business owners. But I think that you also brought up a good point too. And I think when it comes to like national organizations or directories, as we mentioned, that have already, committed to making sure that, Black businesses are getting presence and getting educated, I think that they do need to also take the charge or take the lead in keeping the momentum going and educating us and reminding us on the importance of why we have to continue to circulate those Black dollars. So thanks for bringing up that point, because that was really good. And maybe we don't hold them accountable enough. So when we talk about having the conversation of, how do we go beyond September? That's how, we have the platforms, we have the different organizations, but how are they holding themselves accountable to make sure that we keep pushing the initiative to support Black business?
Right, not just Black History Month. Because what about the other 11 months out of the year? You're a business person. Can you survive 1 month out of the year?
Yeah, absolutely not. And then we already know with these DEI, initiatives, they want to pull back. So if they're pulling back, it's our time to pull forward.
All right, so we definitely gonna get into a lot of this. I love this feedback. And before I let you in on this here, Yekazika, I want to make sure the listening audience, the viewing audience, have an opportunity just to chat, just to know what we're talking about, because the question was, how can Black-owned businesses move from short-term visibility in August to long-term growth and sustainability? Yekazika, you want to add something to that?
Well, all I want to do is say that what has previously been said, these businesses have to definitely do the guerrilla tactic. You have to get out there on your grind and make yourself known in the land. And once you do that right there, then invest back into the community that's investing into your business. And then that will attract more people to want to do business with you, because they seeing that you're benefiting the community. So synchronously, when they're helping you, they're helping themselves.
Indeed, yes, sir. Absolutely. All right, so let's move on. I have another question here, because see, both of you are business owners. So see, I'm gonna spin this off. What do you do to help to maintain a consistent customer base? And so tell me what you guys do. Either one of you. Well, I'm gonna go with my guest first.
It's a lot. I almost want to say, what don't I do? But I want to share the easier things that I do. I remind my family and I remind my friends on a constant basis that their support is very much needed, in addition to being appreciated. I always remind my clients to never keep me a secret. If I made you happy, I am very sure that I can make your friends and your family as equally as happy as you are. So I'm never bashful on sharing with folks on just how much of their support that I need. Their support is extremely important if I want to be around another 18 years from now. And I actually do. I want this business, and I share my passion. I want this business to be generational. So we are building generational wealth, and we're building a generation of entrepreneurship, and just letting our clients know that, hey, what I'm asking for, I plan to be as equally committed to you as the commitment I'm asking of you.
All right. And Minister, is it anything that you do to keep a consistent customer base?
Yeah, I mean, it's specifically with part of your business, you have to make, it's like targeting your actual audience, being aware, like it's showing up, like in your community, that if you provide good a service, you need to be able to provide that service and be there. You want to be able to be in a position of not just providing a service, but when the opportunity presents it, be able to provide employment, but also it's like understanding the needs. We have specific needs and services, and just like how other communities cater to their needs, we have to, though we can cater to all, we have to be very conscious about how we cater and serve our own people, because we have unique needs, and we have to be able to fulfill those needs, because sometimes people from the outside don't quite get it, but when you get it and you can fulfill it, it actually makes a difference when people realize it's like, oh, if you can treat me like home and make me feel at home, then it's kind of like it gives back, and it kind of creates a reciprocal door motion.
Kind of like building that trust and recognition, because I'm big on that. Like, the community. Like, I believe the community consistency helps, build business sustainability. And what I mean by that is, the more you stay connected to the community, the more you give back to the community, the more recognition you get, the more it builds your brand. So to each and every one of your points, that's very true, because word of mouth, to be quite frank, is the best type of advertisement to have. Because if somebody come and tell me about your business, obviously you did a great job. All right, so just kind of moving on. A business can survive alone, but to thrive, it needs a ecosystem. So we're going to talk a little bit about this ecosystem, and Miss Finance Pro, this is where I kind of get a lot of little input back from you. What does it mean to build an ecosystem? Not just a business, but an ecosystem. We talk about mentorship, funding, legal support, marketing, mental health, banking, etc.
So you just want me to take over the rest of the show and not
Right.
give an opportunity to breathe or put a place in. I
can start off a little bit now.
Well, no, I'm
Okay.
happy that you had that, because it was kind of like a nice little throw up there.
Mhm.
But what I have that business owners, Black business owners, should know, especially in the beginning, right? Ecosystem has somewhat, even though there's more to it, but I'm going to say ecosystem has a new name, because all of that used to feel so overwhelming, because there's so many steps to operating a business that we often forget. And it's called a CRM system, right? A CRM system, having some type of database, but also having a system in place so that you allow yourself as a business owner to be more disciplined. And I will say, this is where I love where technology has taken us to allow this to be a lot easier. So what does running your business look like? What does your day-to-day operations need to look like? Because once you have that plan, it's going to be so much easier to thrive in business and not just feel like every day you're getting up and you're just kind of winging it. Because we know winging it can only work but so long. Having a plan is going to help you to sustain. So having a system to where, you can plan your day, know when you're going to market, know when you're going to, check emails, know when you're going to break and take a lunch so that you don't wear yourself out. There was a story about a very successful young lady, business owner, somewhere up north, ran a successful restaurant, but she was doing everything on her own, the cooking, the social media posts, just everything, and serving, until one day she said, I'm tired. I'm going to close the restaurant for a few days because I can tell my body really needs rest. Went to sleep, never woke up.
Oh, wow.
Worst form of burnout. So having systems is important, but also too, knowing how much money you need to make. I mean, yes, the sky is the limit, but also have a budget. You always need a budget. Let that budget be, what do I need to make sure I'm taking care of home? What do I also need to make sure that I can operate this business, especially if you operate your business outside of home? Always know what your number is so that you have a goal that you're working towards. Also understand in your business what your season looks like, because for most of us, you don't actually make money all 12 months in the year. Look at our landscapers, especially those that are, in the South. During our winter months, they're not making as much money because the grass grows slower. Same to be said. Who's turning on their AC in December? No one. So, understand your field, understand your budget, have a plan on what your day-to-day operations need to look like.
Also, I think that's just being in a professional industry, it's important to have mentors. Now, you spoke to the young lady about, running a business. We call that being a slave to your business. And we have to be mindful of that as well. But I can tell, just being able to access capital could have been an issue there. And a lot of black businesses, don't have access to a lot of capital. So they have to do it themselves. So just having that ecosystem, like you're saying, the mentorship, having partnerships as well. I don't think we do that enough. I don't think we come together as partners enough. Like if you're in one industry and you have a niche in that industry, we can be all in the accounting industry. But if you have a niche in one area and I have a niche in another area, why can't we partner together so that we can lessen the burden, of us, reaching that goal or that next level, that we want to reach? We don't have that mindset, in my opinion. We don't have that mindset in our community where other communities do these type of things and they build those ecosystems so that they're not overstressed.
Absolutely. And I think mentorship is extremely important. So I always say, get to know the person that inspires you. And a lot of times we will find, or what we should look towards when it comes to a mentor, is how long have they been in business? I tend to find that the longer a person has been in business, the more supportive they will be of you, especially when you're just getting into business, because, that's when that person can be a better mentor because, hey, what you're going through, guess what? They've already been through it and they face the same challenges. So now you kind of get that mentor and guidance on how to overcome certain challenges. Also, when it comes to Black businesses too, we deal with a lot, including racial bias, even among each other. We don't always believe that, the Black accountant is as knowledgeable as that of another ethnicity. So, and it's not just our own thinking that, but it's what others. So, that notion of having to work 10 times harder and be 10 times smarter, that's blessed us, but it's also worked against us because we are burning ourselves out tired just to prove our worth, which happened through, unfortunately, systematic racism. So we have to also continue to educate and put that out there so that we do a better job of supporting each other and giving each other grace. Don't expect me to do what you're not going to hold another ethnic group to. It's unfair. I shouldn't have to jump through 3 hoops, answer your call immediately, oh, I'm not working with her because when I called her, she didn't answer. You would not ever do that to any other person. Don't do it to us. We love to hold each other to higher standards that we won't hold anyone else to.
Okay.
That's an excellent point. It's like, yeah, would you call the other person at 10 p.m. at night and expect them to call you back?
Right.
Or when you're drinking would you want their ice to some kind of way be colder? The ice is 32 degrees is what the ice freezes at, and it's the same ice. But part of that I like when we talk about the mentorship and the networking is building the relationships. And that is something we have to really be conscious of as Black businesses is networking. I know because something I find that works for me is like if you have a group and you work together and you share in business, it's about everybody getting a piece. Because if if it may not be a project or something that I'm on, but if it's something that I can turn over to someone that's in my peer group, a network, I can give them that work and they can benefit. And then I can give it for 3 or 4 more people. So but when you build those kind of networks, it's like now you have like advertisers, you have people working for your business who don't work for you, but they actually are. So it's like, I would love to be able to give 4 or 5 different projects or jobs to people that I'm networking with, because they in turn do the exact same thing for me, because you can't always be everywhere. And you may be networking or you may be working with another group, but they could be somewhere else where you're not, but they will sell your business for you the same way you sell their business for them. And that's something we really have to embrace, because others do that, but we've kind of been taught to not do that amongst each other. But when we do it, it just opens up so many more windows and doors of opportunity.
Right. That's like networking and building partnerships.
And I'm happy that you brought that case up, because what I've noticed across certain industries too is that when people of that industry, our industry also, when they see an advantage of, hey, you do this really well, like you work well with nonprofits, I'm going to send my nonprofits your way. Oh, wow. Well, I've noticed that you're really good when it comes to, dealing with larger corporations. Companies then become, they merge and become one, which allowed them to take over a bigger market share and bring in more profits and revenues. And that's something that we used to do as a community. And somehow we believe in that notion of, crabs in a barrel or every man for himself. But if we could go back to being that village and the village keepers, growth can also happen in partnership, but not through just referrals, but actual partnership.
Indeed. Want to add anything to that, brother?
No, sir. They hitting it.
Hit it right on.
The only thing I can say is, in our communities, we definitely need to pool our resources together. That's the quickest way to be able to advance. Because individually, we all got $10, but if we pool it together, 5 of us, we have $50. You see that, and especially in the Hispanic communities, they'll bring their people over from different countries, and they'll all live in one house. And then they'll pool their resources until each one of them have their own individual house. So we have to look at the blueprint. You look at the ant colony. They work together to accomplish whatever goal. Stick your finger in there, no matter how big you is, man, it's going to work together to overcome you.
Hey, they got a departments. They got a Department of Defense.
Correct.
And they got a Department of
they
Rescuing Our Future.
Right. They got soldiers, they got nurses,
right.
They got everything in that community.
Right.
So if we have a community, everybody in that community has a different skill set. So it's only logical to pool those skill sets together to benefit each other. So if you're a dentist, if you're a barber, then since we doing business together, I get a lower rate. Because when you come to me, I give you a lower rate. And that way we keep the business going. And as she said, we word of mouth our business to each other. And then we do it to our platforms. We do it to our friends, to our family members. So now I have extended myself through you. Because you way in China. You talking about me in China. I ain't never been to China. Right. Now I got the Chinese people want to do business with me.
I love that analogy and example, because one of the things that you mentioned, Jeremiah, but we didn't really dive into, is joining, which can be a part of guerrilla marketing, being a part of different, networking groups. When it comes to business after hours or business networking, I can admit it has not always been my favorite as well, especially if it's an organization that you're unfamiliar with. and you really don't know anyone else that's going to be there, right? Most of us don't want to be put in those uncomfortable situations. That's why a simple social media post makes it a lot easier. However, networking, going out in the community, meeting other business owners and other entrepreneurs, that is vital. Like, it is so important to put in that work, because no one's going to understand you more than your own peers. And your peers, they're going to put you in those rooms and they're going to talk about you, because it gives you the opportunity. Because sometimes when a person says, what do you do? Some people find that to be the most, challenging question to answer. But, practice, know what your pitch is, know what your answer is going to be, because the thing is, it can open up conversations and opportunities to say, hey, you know what? You're an attorney, I'm a CPA, and I've noticed you deal with, clients in this spectrum, or you know what? You kind of deal with a lot of business owners. Well, how could we help each other grow? It depends on the field of the attorney, because if that attorney deals with business owners, well, business owners all need a succession plan, right? If they are in business, we usually go into business to build wealth. So once we build wealth, we want to protect that wealth. Well, how could we work together to make sure our business owners are protecting their most, important assets, whether it's themselves, what if they get hurt on the job and can't work? What if one of the partners or a spouse passes away? We can give each other business that's going to benefit our clients. So building relationships is so important. And that's what networking allows you to do. It allows you to meet people that you probably wouldn't meet otherwise. Because how? If you're running your business, what other platform is going to give you that opportunity to go out, meet, and mingle with the other movers and shakers in your community? So do it every time. Do it scared, do it uncomfortable, but do it.
To your point, you can send out a social media post, but for the most part, in my opinion, I think social media is a way for you to kind of build some type of branding awareness. But a lot of time, as far as, revenue generation, I don't think social media is the way to go. Like you said, when it comes to business owners, we have to determine, are we going to stay in our comfort zone, or we're going to get out of our comfort zone? Because that's the only way your business is going to grow, if you get out of your comfort zone. And like I said before, either you're going to do that, or you're going to go into, if you don't like the network, you're not going to be successful. So either you're going to go into business and you're going to begin to network, or you're going to go into business with someone that loves to network, like I did. I have someone that loves to network and get out there. She has the gift of gab. So it works out for you, but you have to go into business understanding that you have to network and you have to build relationships. So you have to get out of your comfort zone. All right. So just moving on. What role do Black banks, credit unions, co-ops, in this case, Miss Finance Pro, I'm going to throw it your way, chambers of commerce. What roles do Black, banks or just chamber of commerce play, in a business owner's life?
Well, it's going to, of course, be different when we speak of like the Black chamber. It's almost like I would put a chamber on a different sidelines from banks. But when it comes to Black banks, or even Black crowdfunding initiatives, because a lot of the times, especially when it comes to just lending in general, that's a disparity that we face as well. And let's be honest, it's not like as if we have Black banks within every community. It's a rarity. So it's important that we continue to build those banks. And outside of those banks, that's why it's important to know or have a Black banker, someone that you're comfortable with. But outside of the bigger commercial chain banks, Black banks are formed because they are aware of our disparity, but then they are also aware of our challenges. So we find within these banks that they spend more time in the community educating us so that we can understand how to be bankable and how to be consumers that will gain access to the important credit that we need, that so that we are able to grow our business. So for us, they play a vital role in the Black business growth and sustainability. However, unfortunately, because there are not many and there certainly aren't enough, we still struggle, but the importance is there. Also, when it comes to being a part of a chamber, if there's an opportunity to be a part of any African American chamber, of course, I recommend that you do it, but also be a part of your local chamber, right? Because it's easier to commit to something that is within your community and the community that you grow, right? If a person doesn't have to go, I would never suggest going on the other side of town to build. Not that I'm saying that you can't do that, especially if it's closer enough to you, but always start to build close within your own community so that that business continues to build presence. Also, it is good for business owners to get a part, be a part of the local chamber, especially if they're giving different workshops and different lunch and learns, because when it comes to running a business, we don't know it all. Or sometimes, it's hard to keep up with, the ever-changing life cycle of business and society today. Like, we didn't have the internet like this 20 years ago. We didn't have Facebook 20 years ago. No one was posting a business on. Having business cards and printing flyers was still a very big thing. Like, you had a printer guy. So what I do love about chambers and organizations is that they will usually have business professionals willing to teach you for free what the latest and greatest information is. I love when our chambers hold, in-person meetings, educating us on how to, use LinkedIn or, the latest trend, which has been AI. So being involved in your organizations, it can really be a great tool in your toolbox to continue to be successful in business. In addition to networking, of course, with other business owners.
And I say, I put something out there in the last show, and I shared with listening audience. I say, in our business, we want to be a part of the local Chamber of Commerce, but we also want to be a part of the African American Chamber of Commerce as well. And it was my task to be a part of the African American Chamber of Commerce.
Yes,
and I said, if you're out there and someone is listening, send me the link and the information. And somebody actually sent email for me to sign up. And I want to thank that person. And I want to make sure I get your name right. I think it's Abia Israel. Sent me the information, and it says right there, become a member. And so I'm going through that process right now because I just came across that email. I just want her to know that I'm going through that process, and I want to make sure that our listening audience understand the importance of doing so. Because when it comes to accessing capital or just knowing what grants are out there, we need to know what's for us. So staying connected to something of that stature is very important.
Yeah, and true story. Especially in the beginning when I would network, it was hard because oftentimes I'm the only person that looks like me in the room. And it's real, the disparities that we go through sometimes as entrepreneurs. It's one thing to be the only one, and then it's another when people remind you that you're the only one. I often used to find myself the last person to be spoken to, or the last one that I think anyone ever took, serious. Yes, they were happy to have me there to play a role in the numbers of how big the group was, but no one was taking this little Black girl serious. But over time, of course, as people got to know me, then I would get, somewhat respect and attention from the regulars. But, that's a humbling experience. And so, although going through that process, once I was able to build that relationship, there were great doors and opportunities that opened up. One being, for a long time, my first home bank. And that's why and how I knew the importance of building a relationship with your bank, because your bank knows who you are, but do you know who they are?
Right.
With the banker at the time, he was giving a lot of free information and just giving me advice on, what it looks like to be bankable, shared some insights, because we got together and had our own lunch meeting and said, hey, you're actually in a very ideal industry. Banks love accounting firms. You're one of the top 5. Information I never knew. And right when I was building, the numbers weren't as favorable as the banks wanted my numbers to be at the time, because I was a startup. But having that relationship that was built with that banker, he actually set a meeting with the underwriting team and said, I'm going to make them give you an exception. We are absolutely going to give you this credit line. And I remember being extremely grateful. And he kind of looked at me and said, don't be that grateful. We do it for each other all the time. I'm just doing for you what we have done for others. And I've never forgot that. And so that's the power too of when you allow yourself to network and allow yourself to be uncomfortable, because you never know what doors and opportunities will then open for you. Even though I always say that's the man above as well. Because he's going to make them do what they don't even want to do.
Any follow-up from my brothers? Because I'm going to skip around here a little bit because I'm looking at time. All right. I'm going to skip to another segment here where we're talking about youth entrepreneurship and economic education. All right. So let's talk about the next generation. Are we teaching our kids, or our children? I like to say children. I don't like to say kids, but are we teaching our children how to own, invest, and lead, or are we still only teaching them how to work, get a job? How do we start normalizing entrepreneurship in Black households and schools?
That to me is a very hard question to answer, only because we found ourselves in a very unique situation when it comes to this next generation, right? Because as much as we want to teach them, we have to be honest that they're actually also teaching us. Like, these kids understand technology and they take full advantage of getting access to information. There's just so much out there, there's their peers that they can lean on. Having a conversation with my 16-year-old granddaughter, who is already a 4-time entrepreneur at the age of, 16, started a journey of making her own lip gloss and selling lip gloss, selling accessories, and now a hair braider who has her own booking website, has her own, following on Instagram. What we can teach this is the importance of managing money, budgeting, and finance for growth, because, there's some vital information that they've also been taught. It seems like entrepreneurship is a very big deal with this next generation. They call it living a soft life. And I think that it's a conversation that needs to be had, because a lot of this next generation, they don't want to go into the workforce. They want to build their own workforce. But it's unique because it's not something that we've ever seen before. However, for entrepreneurs who have children, of course, it's our duty to teach that generation, but they kind of have that access, because when you're a parent that works for yourself, of course, your child grew up, spending summers at your office, or, after school, spending time at your office or on the job site, with you. For those that don't have parents that are entrepreneurs, it's just important for them to reach out. But also, like I said, with information technology today, they have so much that's already at their fingertips. Anyone else with any other input? I'd like to learn. That's just been my experience. These kids today are so smart. They're so smart.
No, you bring up a great point when it comes to that, because it's an information age. The information that we had to come across back then, it took us a little while to come across that information. You had gatekeepers in a way. We had to get through the gatekeepers to get to some resources and information. And nowadays, the youth, like you mentioned, they can go to the internet. They can connect with social networking groups.
Influencers. So as an influencer telling them what to do.
Right. So they have a lot of information, that they can benefit from, as we didn't have all that information. But I'll let my brothers share. But I'll just say, being an entrepreneur, your children, you start that practice within your household. You be an example. But sometimes you can be more than just an example, or you can, to most of our youth nowadays, they seeing you working hard and doing a lot of the things that you're doing, it discourage them a little bit. They don't want to do they don't want to do all of that. So they're trying to find out an easier way to make money. So if I can get me a camera, I can set up a camera and I can go and do me some, online stuff and do some stuff that I like, and I can make money from this here. Guess what? I'm gonna make money from this here. Now they don't know the whole scope of things. They don't know when they make money, they got taxes on it and all these other things. So it's a lot that comes along with that. But making money is easy for them, because they done learn how to make money. The problem is they just don't know how to put it in a form that now is structured as a business. It's legitimate, and you're not worried about the IRS coming after you and etc. But I know, like, it has to be in you as well. I know from the age of 9 and 10, I was fishing, going out there fishing and catching fish and selling it to the neighbors in the neighborhood. I was in trees picking pecans and stuff. That's when pecans used to grow on the trees. They even cut all the pecan trees down. Now you can't, you can't find a pecan tree. But you used to collect pecans, put them in a bag, sell them, for $2 or $3. So these are the things that I did, but it has to be in you when it comes to entrepreneurship. You can be an example, I believe. You can be an example as a parent to show your child how to make money. It's up to them if they take that and run with it or not. I'll let your brothers want to share on that.
Well, the entrepreneurship mentality, as you said, has to be passed from one generation to the next. But the problem in our community is the mass majority of our people are on the workforce. So they instill that mentality that, hey, go to school so that you can get a job. They don't teach how to create jobs because they don't have that create mindset. It's like we're stuck on that perpetual merry-go-round. I'm a hard worker. All I can instill is, well, get up, get a job on a 10 to 12 hour spot, come home, and that's that. So as that child grows up seeing that type of cycle, then in its mind, this is my future, because this is what I'm going to become. Because whatever skill set that parent may have, they may teach it. So as you're saying, in these day and ages, though, with the information that's available to the youth, they're looking for easier ways to make money without the manual labor. And then when you look at years ago when the COVID hit, it forced people to now come up with online business. It made you get creative to get some type of income because you couldn't go to that regular job. So in your mind, okay, I need some money. How can I make money? So now it started the creative juices back to flowing. And the youth sitting in the house and y'all trying to come up with ideas to be able to feed and take care of your household now. on a level that you used to or somewhat was used to since you got restricted with your movement. But as you said, the main thing is you're getting the money. Now, how do I save the money? How do I invest the money so that I don't be like our average rappers blowing the money fast as soon as I get it? And that's the teaching that needs to be instilled inside of the youth that they are lacking. They don't see the family budget. Family don't get together and, hey, let's have a family meeting and let's sit down and let everybody see the budget so they can see where the money going. Now he can understand or she can understand why she can't get them new $300 LeBron shoes that just came out because it's not in the budget. And then they can see how money works and understand, okay, now we're going to open you up a checking account or a savings account so they can understand how the banking works. So that if they do grow up and develop any type of business, as she said, you can have a relationship with the banks and understand how to trade the money where the bank actually works. We don't have that knowledge. We lack the financial literacy in the Black communities that's keeping us at the bottom of civilization, because even if you're doing some type of illegal activities and you're accumulating funds, you don't know what to do with it. And now breaking news, we just pulled this guy over with $1 million in the trunk, or kicked in his door and he had $50,000 cash because he didn't know what to do with that money. He didn't have the understanding of how to invest that money into some type of business because we wasn't given that type of financial literacy at a young age. You know, we'll sit our children down and they're watching TV shows and study reading books on finance, study watching documentaries on finance, on how to be able to do the things that's going to sustain them throughout their life, because everybody needs money to survive. Money is the medium of exchange in our society to be able to accumulate the goods that you need to have the creature comforts that you want in order to live a life. But if you don't know how to sustain that money, Great Light says, a fool and their money gonna soon part. And we see examples of that with our athletes, with our entertainers, with our actors. These people have so much money go through their hands, through their careers, and then 2 or 3 years after their career, they broke. Look at Mike Tyson, how you blow $100 million? MC Hammer, how you blow $30 million? You know, so we don't want to repeat that cycle, and the only way that we will not is to begin to teach our children financial youth. And especially something I was looking at this past summer. When school is out, all the children, younger children, normally go to some type of youth center or some type of boys club throughout the day in the summer. Are they teaching them financial literacy while they're there?
Right.
Or are they just running around playing sports?
Well, that's one of the things. And Minister, before we go to a break, I'll let you chime in if you want to chime in.
You know, in entrepreneurship, I think it's very important that it does need to be talked about at home. I personally don't think it's a part of the curriculum in the public school systems. So it's definitely something we need to talk about more and definitely educate our children. And specifically when you're an entrepreneur yourself, your children kind of see it and learn it. And, you know, some of them, I guess with social media and the internet now, some of them do get it. And for those who get it, it's great. But I do see a large number who do not. And I see them using it as a social kind of platform. They're not making any real money. They're still looking for work, or it's like when it starts making money, I think it's great. But then they need to understand, if it makes money, how to manage it. But a lot of them still miss how to translate it, you know, your mental capacity into dollars. They want to do a softer work, but any kind of work that you do is going to require some planning and some strategizing in order for it to turn into to make a financial impact. And like a lot of the courses in school, I don't think they really focus on entrepreneurship. They are still telling them basically to get jobs and plug into the system. And we have to be the sounding boards to let them know that is okay. but that can be secondary, or you can even be working on a job, but then how can you be an entrepreneur while you're even working on your job? Because I do think a lot of them still miss it, and they're searching and still trying to find it, especially within our community. And that's where some of it is lacking. Like they'll see like some of the entertainers that's making a lot of that, but then how do you get to that next goal, or what is it going to take for you to get to that level? And that begins at home. And if they are going to be getting an education, they need to be getting that education so it'll be beneficial to what they want to put into their own particular business or entrepreneurship.
I know we wanted to probably switch gears after this, but we got to go to a commercial break. But I want to come back with this topic because there's a couple of things that I think we can shine some light on that can be beneficial to our viewing and listening audience. Before we go there, though, do we have a comment? Okay. All right. Is your mic not on? Okay. Well, all right. Well, we thank you for that comment. Please continue to comment. We recognize you. We see you. We appreciate you at the same time. But we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with the same topic.
Because Scott & Associates always treats me like family, I refer my family to them. So when preparing for my taxes and I know exactly what to bring in coming in, it makes the process so much easier. Anyone should hire Scott & Associates because they are professional, respectful, and very knowledgeable. And with all of my heart, I can always count on them.
All right, so welcome back. We do want to get a little deeper into this here because we're talking about the youth. We didn't broke into talking about a little bit when it comes to the youth and what are some youth-centered entrepreneurship programs doing this well. And I shared in this Miss Finance Pro, I shared in our last show how when we first started, how we created the Computer Literacy Family and Literacy Service, how you established like the financial literacy part of that, and how we went into the community with the youth. And
Kids Financials.
Yes, Kids Financial. There you go. So when we're talking about programs, would you like to share like how you started with that program and you know how beneficial that was, just coming from a business entrepreneur standpoint and giving back to the community?
Well, here's the thing and the truth. When we understand our disparities as people of color, real research was put into what is a good age and when should we start to have these types of conversations with our children. And we found that the best age to where they could learn, but also gravitate and keep this information, because we knew that this was for their future, not really their presence, was within middle school. And so Kid Financials was then birthed to teach financial literacy to those, within the 6th to 8th grade, because that was a vital time where they could learn, but also keep the information, because also they were also becoming of age of understanding poverty. When you are a small child, elementary school age, you didn't understand that mama didn't have it. It felt like your parents always did. By middle school, you are understanding the disparity of your situation, and the lack thereof within our communities. By high school, though, when children are now getting ready to go into the workforce, right? Because a lot of children, if they come from homes that aren't as financially savvy, they plan to work in high school. So because they're working, that takes away from their ability to learn. So we've learned that best practice, the younger you can teach them, not too young, but still the younger we can teach these vital skills, it would be successful for long-term sustainability. And I hate to backtrack, but we kind of had the conversation with teaching our children. A lot of the times, especially those that grow up in a household with entrepreneurs, they may not want to become entrepreneurs themselves when they see the hard work that their parents are putting in. So it's important to have those family meetings and educate to say, this is only what it looks like within the first generation. You are the second generation. Work will be less for you because this was my sacrifice. And your children, who are the third generation, they will be the leaders. You won't have to work from the bottom. We did the bottom. You're going to work the middle, and your children and your children's children, they will be on the top of the food chain. So we have to understand and allow our children to see the vision, because without a vision, we know the people perish. So we have to plan that vision and be systematic with how we do it, because when they broke us down, they did it not overnight, but they did it systematically. So we have to be mindful of using that same strategy.
I love it. Oh, I love that.
It's in the world.
Indeed. One of the things that I think as MOP is one of the things that we acknowledged, and which I can go back talking about the POP program. Remember the POP program? I don't know if you remember that, Minister, that Senator Sipling had put together. You remember that program? So it was a program that was put together. Senator Sipling, he put the program together, and it was a bunch of the youth. They would, come to small Black-owned businesses, and they would work there, and they would pay them for us. But they would learn from entrepreneurs, how to become, not just an entrepreneur, but know how, someone that looks like them, being in business, how they're doing it, So I think it was a great program that he put together during that period of time. And Miss Finance Pro, I don't know if you recall that. You recall that POP program?
Absolutely recall POPs. We were very involved in POPs.
Yes, ma'am. But as MOP, and Minister, I'll let you probably talk to this a little bit. One of the reasons we came together to even talk about this trade, we have the Trade Expo show that's coming up. I always got to, give a shout out to that. If you haven't as of yet, make sure that you put it in your calendar. The date is October the 25th. We have the second annual Trade Expo show. So we're just trying to bring awareness to the community. We're going to be in South Apopka again this year, which is a community that, the average household income is around about, $20,000, $25,000. So we want to make sure that we're bringing that type of information and awareness to our communities, because when it comes to trades, we lack the knowledge behind that, and that's a part of just building entrepreneurship and building, just going into business for yourself. Because I remember just watching the TV repair guy when I was coming up as a young boy, and he would come to the house, either fix the TV or he'll sell my mom some used TV, or maybe give us a TV. That's the beauty of having businesses in our community, because I know my mother couldn't afford a TV. That was back in the days when you had black and white televisions, and some people was just starting to get color television, and I haven't made it to that point yet. So my cartoon characters didn't have any color, so I was hoping to get some color, but just seeing him, just inspired me. I said, man, I want to be like that. I want to be able to run my own business, and I want to be able to do some of those things. So, just seeing other people in the community, I think is very important to the youth to understand entrepreneurship and just be aware of, the power that they have and what they can do when it comes to building our community once they take on entrepreneurship. One of you brothers want to add to that? Minister?
Yes, certainly. When it comes to the trades, it's a very, it's a huge opportunity, and it's one that we've been missing the mark on it. Like I can remember in junior high, we used to get the go-karts and them little mini bikes that we would ride. And the guys, they were in high school. They could build them from a frame from scratch, and we having a blast and a ball. But those guys graduated high school. They actually took engines apart, put them back, and they got out of high school actually opening up mechanic shops. If not working in them, they could open them up because they could actually build and repair cars. And it's like it was a lost art, because the trades in most schools now, you just don't have trades there. And the trades are one of the things, like with AI, as fast as it's moving, AI will never be able to be a plumber. When you need a plumber, you got to call a plumber. We're in Florida. When it's hot, if your AC stops working, you have to call an AC technician. And it goes the same with roofers and electricians. And they're one of the building, because businesses, to operate a business, if you got a brick and mortar business, you're going to need someone to build that business and to maintain it. And it's not just to work in it, but as an opportunity to become an entrepreneur and an owner. And we kind of missing it. That's one of the things MOP is really big on, going back to our community, letting them know that opportunity is there. Not only is it there, but it's a viable option where you can actually feed your family, make some money, and then if you want to take it to that next level, you can certainly take it to the level of being a business owner and entrepreneur.
Yes, sir. And I think we have time for either one more question. So, how does early exposure to ownership change the future of our communities? So the question is, how do early exposure to entrepreneurship for our youth can change the future of our community?
Oh, that's simple. That's like anything. The earlier you get exposed to something, the more practice you get. And we know practice is the repeated performance of an activity. So long as they are performing this activity from a young age, their chances of becoming an expert at this particular skill set increases as they grow. So you definitely want to be able to do that. You look at other communities, especially with fighting. They put their children in dojos and in karate schools at a young age. So by the time these young men and young women are 13, 14, they're very proficient at self-defense. So if you can, do that, you're a plumber, electrician, or whatever your skill set is, and you start that apprenticeship with your child, nephew, or children in the community at a young age, then they'll grow and they'll have that particular skill set. And it's something that they can always use, especially as you said, you're going to need plumbers. You're going to need, these basic skills that make communities flourish. So the earlier, the better.
I agree. It definitely helps our community economically. I believe it riches, makes our community richer. Because when you build entrepreneurship and you link to one another, it allows for the dollar to circulate within your community. So your community only grows when the dollar circulates within your community. And then I also think it sets us up for generational wealth. The more entrepreneurs that we can create, the more of a chance that our future can see better light, if you will, when it comes to financial literacy, and when it comes to economic growth, because it's important that we understand, like how Miss Finance Pro was alluding to. When you become first of everything, you have to understand that it takes more work in the beginning, and to help establish that generational wealth, and making sure that you take on a different mindset than our ancestors did. They were just trying to survive and get by, where our counterparts, their ancestors was in a better place where they could put money aside. So now that generation that they have in place, they're the next generation that's in leadership and ruling over us and giving us jobs or denying us jobs, however that may work. But we have to understand that the power behind entrepreneurship, because one of the biggest things that we get stuck up on, I'm gonna say this here, is trying to get our child the next NBA career, NFL career. When stat shows only 1.2% of NCAA Division 1A men's division basketball players are drafted to the NBA. So when you think about that, that's only 2 out of every 100 college basketball players will reach the professional level. So what's the other 98 going to do? Get a job somewhere. So if we're not teaching entrepreneurship, guess how many of our youth that we're losing when we're trying to focus on basketball, football, and all these other things, when only 1.2% is making it.
Not only that, but it'd be interesting enough if we started to, within the youth, share what those salaries also look like. Because the career is short-lived, but the salaries for most of these athletes, will still range within 6 figures. And so when we can show them how running a business for yourself also gains you the opportunity to earn the same 6 to 7 figures, however, within 2 to 3 years of entrepreneurship, if done successfully and right, you have a bigger chance of earning that 6-figure income, especially a higher 6-figure income, consistently, compared to a contract that has to be renewed every 2 to 3 years. So yes, you may make it into the NBA, you may make it into the NFL, but what doesn't get spoken of a lot is you have to reapply for your job on average every 2 to 3 years. So who wants to get hired in a career where your job is not guaranteed, because you have to always be made to put in an application and audition for the job?
Great point. Dennis, you want to add something?
And that's well put, because like when the entrepreneurship, when it's taught early, and you create a community of people who become job creators, then you're not really concerned about looking for jobs. You're having people who are creating jobs, so now they're looking to hire people. And it could be in trades, it could be in sports, and it could even be in the internet. But when they learn entrepreneurship means I become the employer and now I create jobs, it's like we can change our own community simply by creating jobs, because now the people, rather than looking for jobs, they're actually job creators instead of looking for jobs.
All right, so y'all hear the music, so that's about the time for
We
us to get ready to
do,
close out.
but I can tell because the show topic was Beyond the Month, building long-term power through Black-owned businesses. So what does it look like to go beyond that month? Let's be each other's influencers. See, I'm going to be hip and use the new word. Let's be influencers. So if you have that following, if you have a way to put, or not even if, right? Word of mouth works. It's always worked for us. Let's continue to keep Black-owned businesses in our mouths and continue to elevate and refer Black dollars to each other, because that's how we can definitely grow our own economic system.
All right. One of you brothers want to close out, add?
Continue to network in our communities. Think of the ants. See how powerful they is.
Right, Minister. The last word.
See, I started off with the dictionary definition of entrepreneurship, but my personal definition of entrepreneurship has always been an entrepreneur is one who takes a risk at not making a profit, but when there is a profit, they take it.
Right.
So
Well,
be an entrepreneur.
All right. So I leave you with this here. Supporting Black businesses is not charity. It's a commitment to justice, wealth building, and power distribution, $1 at a time. This month is the spotlight, but the work is every day. If you want to support Black businesses, support them this month, next month, and the month after that. And if you're a business owner listening, know this. We see you, we know who you are, and we want to make sure that, the dollars are coming your way. And I say from the host, peace and prosperity, and from Live Talk, we are out. Thank you for watching Live Talk. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Live Talk Orlando. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit on the notification button so that you can see more videos like this. You want to join the show? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com. You can also follow the host on Facebook and Instagram at Arthur Jeremiah. And visit the website, thenoystore.com, to pick up your copy of The Spiritual Significance of a Name.